To give the glimpse of his profile, he is a leading agriculture scientist and executive director for CSA. He has been instrumental in promoting agroecological farming and policy innovations across multiple states, including Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Karnataka, Maharashtra, and Chhattisgarh, and so on. He will now take us through a detailed analysis of the agriculture landscape in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, reflecting on the lessons learned over past 2 decades. Welcome, sir. Thank you.
Let's look at what is happening in Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and then we will talk about it. Next, please. For others who doesn't know about, we also work in Chhattisgarh, Karnataka, and many other states supporting government programs. In all, we work with about 50,000 farmers, and we also support about 66 farmer producer organizations which are promoted by CSA. So when we started CSA, the idea was to look at end to end. Not just to look at one part of, we can learn everything and then put the things together. That's how CSA started. Next please. Give around 50% of the farmers. So some of the produce is displayed outside, you can also see. Next please. And the new entrant into our group is the Krishna Sudha Academy for Agroecology. This is a first of its kind research and training center which is located near Nujividu in Andhra Pradesh. This is spread over 38 acres where all models of organic and natural farming are under display. People can visit, stay and learn. There is a space for about 70 to 80 people stay at any point of time. Next please. DDS is our partner, and many of you know about DDS. For the last 40 years, spearheading the millet movement in this country, and Deccan India's first Krishna Vignana Kendra, which focuses only on organic and natural farming. I think that's why they have put up the fight for the last so many years, which government is now talking about. So together we are trying to do many things from production to markets, and then the public policy. So this seminar is part of it. For last 20 years, we have been very vocal and then very active in the public policy space. But for last 10 years, we took a back step, and then now we are trying to come back again. So this is the first workshop towards that direction. Next, please. So let's look at what is happening with agriculture. Some data sets I want to put forth and prepare ground so that Devendra can actually tell what we all need to do. Well, the last census talks about nearly 50 question we should ask. We always say this contribution is only 15%, but what is the money actually spent on them? So when something is giving livelihood for so many people, what is the money spent? And within that 54% also, nearly 90% of the people are small and marginal. Very small and marginal. And if you look at any of the workshops on agriculture, we talk about it is a problem. That we have small and marginal farmers, so people are not able to adopt a technology. So we need to have aggregation or move the farmers up. Thus, if your clients are small and marginal farmers, your technology should be fitting into that. You cannot say, since clients are unable to buy my product, I need to change. So clients have to change because the entire public extension and market research system is built for that, and that's where the investment goes. And now they are saying the clients are wrong, rather than talking about the technology. The economic crisis is serious. In fact, the incomes are going down. The average income of farmers is around 10,000 rupees today on average. And then when government talked about doubling the farmers' income, it landed up somewhere around 60%. And we will see actually how it happened and then where it happened as well. But the serious issue is about the growing indebtedness. There is a serious land. No farmer in this country can buy land. All the lands which are bought, say if you take the last 20 years history, go to any registrar office and see, all lands are bought by the urbanites. No farmer has bought land because there is no surplus money with any farmer. As a result, you are not increasing your land, you cannot increase your productivity, you cannot increase the price. So obviously, even if you are a good farmer, good land, you are not actually getting out of the crisis. Indebtedness is increasing. So where actually the problem lies? If you look at the national level, crop income coming from the crop production is only 37%. Crop production is only 37%. Andhra Pradesh, Telangana is much worse. Andhra Pradesh is 21%. The income coming from crop production is 21%, and Telangana is around 30%. Which means nearly 70% of the income has to come from other sources, which is 18%. So rest of the things, people got stuck. there's no opportunities available. But the growth in agriculture is very low. So if you see the data, and the major income increase actually happened on the wages and on the livestock, income coming from these two sources. So on crop production there is no income increase. The income increase is not happening because the cost of cultivations are increasing but the prices are not increasing. So that's a ownership. But land consolidation is also happening. So there needs to be a proper study to look at the land consolidation which is happening. At least every month I get at least 1 or 2 inquiries saying I have 500 acres, 800 acres, can you help us with organic farming? So this is a contradiction which is in front of us. So we need to understand this and then work on it. Next please. And who form nearly 80% of the people, the large part of the income actually comes from non-agricultural sources. That's one of the reasons what we are seeing in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana particularly, 80% of the income and then the growth of prices and growth of income is very low. Who would be interested? So if all good agriculture practices are followed, it is about 1.5 tons, which is the soil is farmed in a farm. If you are talking about very good organic farming practices, etc., it's about 1.5 tons soil farms in 1 year. We do 16 tons per year, per hectare. 16 tons per year. So the soil which is farmed in 10 years, we are losing in 1 year. And that's because of the bad practices. We are leaving the soil open, we are tilling the soil, we are doing the puddling, we are leaving the soil. When the water, when there is a rain, it flows out. All the water which we see on the road will be brown in color because it's all carrying the soil. The siltation we are seeing in the lakes and tanks is all because of that. The desertification and land degradation data talks about 16 tons per hectare per year is the soil we are losing. So the soil which is farmed in 10 years we are losing in 1 year. Why are we not seriously working on that? Why are we not seriously slides? Another very important issue is also about water. We are pumping out so much water. We'll see how all this is impacting. Next please. Soil organic matter, year of soil health, basically how much organic matter is there. So 67% of the soils in India, and data from National Institute of Nutrition talks about there is a reduction in the nutrient content of the food. So the question which Lindsay brought out, that there is anemia in this country, is because the food is deficient in nutrients. It's not just people. Food is deficient in nutrients. The palak which you think is more having iron is not having iron. And this is 30 years data, if you look at, clearly analyzes that the depletion is happening. And more shocking is the next study. This is done by ICR. It talks about, this is a nutrient drain. It talks about nearly 20 to 30% reduction in the nutrient content, even if nutrients are provided. They actually did a lab experiment. It talks about, there's a reduction in the nutrient content because the plant varieties are unable to even take the nutrients. So we have bred varieties, we are maintaining the varieties in a way that we are unable to actually provide the nutrients. We'll go back. And so two important issues we need to remember here. When we talk about anemia in this country, it's the soils which are anemic. So if the soils are anemic, crops are anemic, if the crop is anemic, food is anemic, people are anemic. So by adding iron into your food, you are not going to solve the problem. We need to add actually iron into the soils. So how do we deal with that is an important question. Second important issue, this study also brought out the heavy metals increasing in your food. And it says 20 to 30% increase in the heavy metals happening. And a couple of days back, there was a shocking report from Buldana in Maharashtra. If some of you have seen that, a report which said suddenly the people realized there is a hair fall happening significantly, and that is because of the selenium content in the wheat. And when the report came out, then we realized ICMR has published the same report in January, and there was attention. But when people said hair fall is happening, then people took action. So it's also about how do we present the case, etc. Right. Next. So the issue with chemical fertilizers which we talk about is largely about declining fertilizer response ratio. This people are not talking about. Today, if you are putting in chemical fertilizers, the yield is just about 3.5 kg. I'm talking about 2005 data. This is today, it will be much lower. It has reduced from 13 kg per kg of fertilizer to 3.5 kg. which essentially means you have to put more and more to get the same yield. You are getting onto a treadmill, so to stand where you are, you have to run. The moment you stop, you fall. That's where India stands. So the fertilizer subsidy today, which is about nearly 2.5 lakh crores if you talk about, 2.5 lakh crores if you divide the total area in this country is about 7,000 rupees per acre. So if you are using fertilizer, you get, and if you are using more, you get more. If you are not using anything, you won't get anything. So what is this? So people who are actually conserving the soil, supporting the soil conservation and then increasing the organic matter in the soil are not supported, but people who are actually destroying it is what is supported. And every kg of nitrogenous fertilizer, which is subsidized by 95%, gives out nearly 5 kg of carbon dioxide equivalent emissions in this country, which means the greenhouse gas emissions in this country are subsidized by Government of India. Right? Who is the biggest culprit? It's the Government of India. So how do we deal with these things is an important issue. Next please. So, and then the water crisis again, we use more water, and whenever there is a water we shift towards rice. And we have 16% of the world population, but only 4% of the water resources. Next please. So from here let's look at what is happening between Andhra and Telangana. Telangana government, after it's formed in 2014, took a big decision that there will be a crop patterns, regulated crop patterns, and then pushed for rice and cotton cultivation. And the data shows that the area increased by more than 250%. Rice. Today, Telangana is the largest rice producers in the country. And all this water is coming from the dams, which are built, new dams, and then these are all pumping water out from the groundwater or from the surface water. Basically, it's a lift irrigation dams. So, without getting into the calculations of how much electricity we are using to pumping out water, the amount of water used and then the amount of money invested to create such infrastructure facility has landed the previous government in huge crisis. And today rice occupies nearly about 40% of the crop area in Telangana. And average estimate shows that we need about 25 lakh hectares of land, and today it is more than 1 crore acres. 1 crore acres. We need about 25 lakh acres of rice production in this state to feed all of us, but today we are producing nearly 1 crore acres. Next please. So what is happening is that there is a soil destruction happening because of the puddling. There is a nitrate content increasing in water, so you cannot drink your water, you have to buy. Even in the rural areas, you have to buy water because your nitrate content in water is increasing. Your GHG emissions are increasing. We made a simple calculation which looks at per acre how much GHG emissions are there, carbon dioxide equivalent. It's about 10 tons per acre. 1 million acres. Calculate how much it comes to. 100 million tons. 100 million tons to absorb, it takes nearly forest area which is 8 times the Telangana area. Is a kind of pollution which is caused by nearly 85% of cars in India driven for 1 year non-stop. Pollution caused by just the paddy fields in Telangana. Why are we not taking it serious? Why are we not reducing it? We go on a dharna in Delhi and then ask for procurement. The same money is available. Why are we not supporting farmers who are growing millets, pulses, oilseeds? And in a situation where the area under rice is increasing, any sensible decision would be to reduce the rice area, so incentivize other crops. But the decision taken by even the current government is to increase the rice price. They said 500 rupees additional price will be paid to rice. So if you want to shift towards pulses, oilseeds, vegetables, it's your choice. So that's the kind of wrong choices which are pushing us into the deep crisis. Next please. Biosafety, I think is also again very serious issue. The pesticide use is increasing significantly. Just to put the numbers into picture, Telangana uses nearly 900 grams of pesticide use per hectare, and it has increased nearly by 5 times in the last 10 years. 5 times. Whereas at the same time, Andhra Pradesh, after the separation, it has reduced significantly, nearly by 55% it has reduced. So we started at the same point in 2014. Between 2004 to 2010, there was a 50% use reduction. and then the government stopped all the programs on non-pesticidal management. 2010 to 2014, again there was an increase. 2014, when the government states separated, both the states took a different pathways in terms of crop choices, and then that led to the whole issue. So when it clearly shows it's a lack of interest, it's a lack of plan which is happening. And we have seen a couple of days back there was a crisis in one of the districts. When we went there, we have seen a biopesticide, humic acid was sold as a pesticide. No regulation, simply sold like that. People sell pesticides, there is no bill, and government officer says, since it is not sold through the regulated counters, we don't know. So this was the situation, and heavy poisoning cases are coming up. This is a reality in front of us. Also about unregulated GM crops, Prime Minister's office in 2019, I think there was a study done, and it said 20% of the cropped area is under HT cotton. Completely unregulated, not permitted. If 20% of the area is under HT cotton, what are we talking about? Last November, there is a study done by a research center in Tamil Nadu, which talks about 4 locations in Telangana, they found GM maize. So, the crops which are not tested, pesticides which are not recommended, they are all in front of us all around. So, these are all going unregulated. Next please. Andhra Pradesh government, so why the difference between Andhra Pradesh and Telangana came in is about government had a program called Andhra Pradesh Community Natural Farming, where they are supporting for a transition. So there are community resource persons, there are systems which are built. For a period of time, hand-holding support is provided for the farmers to make the shift. Last 10 years, Telangana government said, we don't believe in natural farming, so even the money which came from the center was not used. And this year government talked about doing it on a fairly large scale, and in the budget they allocated, the budget paper mentioned 1.6 crores, and when we spoke to the department they said it's about 4 crores. And just to give a comparison, Karnataka government, to support one block, they allocated 10 crores. So that's the kind of thing. So there's a lip service but no action which is happening. So this is the last slide. So what do we do in all these things? I think we need to talk about a comprehensive solution. It's not about making, say, I'll do a small, say 2 acres into natural farming, I talk about millets and then promote millets here, I'll introduce something here, there. It doesn't work. I think we need to look at a comprehensive approach where the policy ecosystem changes. Green revolution happened not because of high-yielding varieties, it has not happened because of the fertilization system was created, distribution system was created, agriculture universities were set up. So it's a whole ecosystem. So what is the new ecosystem we require? I think that is a question we all need to look for. And another important issue is the income security of farmers is the most important thing. We need to look at targeting that part. And the balancing act between the cost of cultivation, cost of living, and then and also about the support received, etc., should not be the headache of the farmer. Should not be the headache of the farmer. It should be the government responsibility to see that a balancing act is done. Say whenever there is a pay commission looks at how much money salary has to be paid for each of the employee based on the how do you attract a talent, and then how that one person earning will feed 5 people in the rural areas or 3 people in the urban areas. So we need to come up with some kind of formula where farmers' income becomes very critical, and all policies should be around that. We should not have a kind of system where we are trying to push parts of the jigsaw puzzle and then leaving the rest of the puzzle to the farmers and then asking them to solve. I think that's not going to happen. Next please. So another important issue is people talk about FPOs. Yes, FPOs are a really solution, but are we supporting them? Are we supporting them? It's an important issue. We are not supporting them. We are not giving them enough time to evolve. We are not giving them enough access to credit. So I think the government should talk about an FPO policy where credit access, affordable credit access is important, and like we have all the incubation and support systems for startups, we should have support systems for the FPOs also. We also need to have a system where we can revive the sick cooperatives. When there is so much facilities created for reviving the sick industry, why not? Why not we talk about reviving the FPOs as well? And also building public infrastructure should be the responsibility of the government. I think that should also not get into the loans which are taken by the people to build a warehouse or setting up a processing facility kind of thing. We need to talk about insurance mechanisms where we need to have micro insurance kind of models which can be tried out through the FPOs. Next please. And direct income support measure in Telangana was the first one to start Raitu Bandhu. So if you look at the Raitu Bandhu has literally drained the money from the public expenditure, public exchequer, and it went to the people who are not actually deserving. It has become an incentive for holding the land rather than actually supporting the farmers to produce more and cover the gap. It was not the case. So we need to focus on, we need to bring in a system where it is targeted. Target on the cultivators, which also means you need to have a system of identifying cultivators. It should not be a kind of incentive just for holding the land. Second important, there should be a ceiling. I think there should be a ceiling beyond a certain land holding. It should not be given any such support. I think these two are something which are very, very critical. Next please. Raitu Bharosa in Andhra Pradesh, the new system is coming up, but we need to figure out how the new system will be. But the old system had targeted the household, not on the per acre basis, whereas the Raitu Bandhu was based on the per acre basis. This was a household basis to cover the income cost. So the previous government was talking about 13,500 rupees, and also interestingly they came up with this Crop Cultivators Rights Act of 2019, where tenant farmers were identified, and then they were also given both access to credit and also to the Raitu Bharosa. Whereas in Telangana, there was no effort to actually give access to tenant farmers for the credit. Next please. So another important issue, like Subhash Sharma ji was also mentioning, the income for farmers cannot be about just yield and price. We should think about more than that. If I am harvesting more water, if I am improving the soil fertility, how these can be quantified and supported to the farmers is something which is important. So we need to look at ecosystem services also. If around Hyderabad, if people use the same pesticides, it's not just your food getting contaminated, your water is also getting contaminated. Obviously, so if Punjab farmers are not improving their farming, obviously Delhi is not going to get good food, right? And many other pollutants are coming like that, because unless these systems are in place and systems are supported, and if you are just thinking it is a farmer's responsibility to do everything, is not going to happen. So we need to think about a new model where all these ecosystem services are also quantified and supported. Next please. So the policy shift is essentially to look at focusing on the reducing risk in agriculture, and then the residual risk should be covered. Today, insurance is the only mechanism to cover the insurances. Couple of examples I would say, which is again coming up from Andhra Pradesh experience. So if you have a suitable cropping patterns, if you have reduced fertilizer use, chemical use, and if you cover universally the insurance, the premiums will come down. You know, Telangana withdrew from crop insurance because the premiums went up. They said 33% was the premium. And today in Andhra Pradesh it is just 4%. Lowest in the country. That is because all farmers are insured by the government, and then the premium comes down. So we need to have a mechanism of risk management. And insurance is the last mechanism in the entire thing, where you cover the residual risk which is not covered by any other mechanism. It cannot just keep one mechanism and say that will cover everything. So insurance, we need to make the shift. And all policies should be brought under one umbrella, which can ensure income security to the producers. And then Farmers Income Commission we talked about, and then the budgetary allocations. I think budgetary allocations should be increased and they should be rightly be spent. So I stop here, look forward for the questions.